us some good stuff. Thought I would clear you. You f***ing bored the f*** out of us, man. What the f*** is your problem?
Hey, we got this one right here. Let's go. Pick up this one.
All right, come on, guys. Chill out.
Get back.
Come on.
What the f*** is your deal, dude?
Come on now.
Get back.
Wow. And with that, those were the fireworks post race between Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson at Kansas. Marty Snider, Coon, Dave Burns joining you here. So Kim, I think some people wanted NASCAR to let that fight go a little bit longer, but were you surprised at Noah's reaction? I mean, I know he said this has been a couple times this year, and boy, it seems like that list of people who are angry at Ross Chastain a little bit earlier in the year and a little bit longer here for the month of May.
Yeah, the list is definitely growing. I don't know that I would have picked Noah Gragson out of the list to actually start the first real fight off the racetrack, but I was a little surprised. We saw right there, Ross moving Noah up the racetrack. If I'm just looking that incident by itself, I don't think that warrants the reaction that we got from Noah post-race. However, Noah talked about this isn't the first time this season that he felt like the one car didn't race him fairly or didn't work well with him. So we all know that race car drivers never forget anything. So maybe this was the straw on the camel's back. And Noah also spoke to the fact that everybody has been talking about how Ross Chastain needs to be put in his place. And so maybe Noah felt like he was speaking on behalf of that list you mentioned, Marty. But just looking strictly at the on-track incident, Kansas, the fight surprised me a little bit.
Noah Gragson putting the entire sport on his shoulders there and responding. Interesting, though, that Ross's position is what we always seem to find Ross's position to be. He's not in the playoffs yet. He has not won yet this year. So he's on the outside looking in. He needs more friends than enemies, but it never seems to work out that way. And so this weekend, it was his turn to be at odds with Noah Gragson. Look, boys are going to be boys, and I love the passion that these guys have, everywhere from starting to grab there, maybe to even throwing a punch. They want to win. They want to win bad. And this is NASCAR. This stuff happens. It's part of the entertainment. And I like it when the emotions overflow.
Dave, we talked about how that list is pretty long for Ross Chastain this year. It seems like there's a lot of drivers not very happy with him. You can add Kyle Busch to that list during the race at Kansas. But Ross can't change who he is, can he? Because remember, he tried that heading into the playoffs last year, and it changed him as a driver. He was not as good on the track when he was trying to tiptoe around people.
I think that's really true. And again, he has not won, so he's got to get there, but he should get there in the Ross way. His team, Trackhouse, knows what he's like. They support him. Chevrolet supports his sportiness, so they're not going to be offended by him being Ross, especially if that leads to the kind of things that they need, which are victories to get them into the playoffs, and then the fortitude to make his way through. If it's not causing controversy, it's doing something totally new, like riding the wall at Martinsville. So Ross needs to be Ross. He's got to be freed up to do that. He just can't make enough enemies that someone decides to take him out at the wrong time.
I hope this is the beginning of seeing a different path from Ross. And I say that meaning, to your point, Marty, last year we saw a similar start to the season, and then Ross backed off a little bit. We didn't see the aggressiveness on the racetrack because of that. And to me, this weekend at Kansas stood out because Ross stood his ground. He told Gragson, stop. He gave him the opportunity to kind of cool off, and he didn't take it. And so Ross wasn't going to be pushed around. And that's what my problem was last year with Ross, is he was too apologetic. He changed his kind of attitude and racing style, and we saw the on-track effect of that. He wasn't as good. And so I want this to be the very beginning of Ross taking no prisoners, making no apologies. If you're going to race like that on the racetrack, back it up with how you talk and how you present yourself off the racetrack.
Kim, is there a sense, though, in the garage area, there's some frustration building with him a little bit more? I love how Tyler Reddick said on Twitter, boy, I wish they'd let that fight go a little bit longer. I know he was sort of kidding, but there's a lot of people who said, hey, there's some frustration building there with Ross.
I think it's going to come and go. And, there were videos of Ross Chastain walking to victory lane and congratulating Denny Hamlin, and they had a nice transaction. I don't know that anybody would have guessed that. So, these kind of tiffs, while drivers do have a great memory, they come and they go and they ebb and they flow. So to say, that list is growing, will it stay the same? People will make amends. There will be olive branches that are traded between drivers. I would be a little concerned in Ross's case, though, because of that list, just small little things drivers can do. We saw it last weekend in Kansas. Kyle Larson, after he was upset with what Ross did, the Brennan Poole thing, he made it very hard for Ross to get by to try and catch up with Martin Truex Jr. So there's little things drivers can do. So if I'm Ross, that's what I am worried about. It's not just blatant outright fisticuffs off the track or bold moves on the track. It's the little things that could keep Ross from getting to victory lane.
I'm thinking Tyler Reddick watches hockey, and he feels like they should just let it go. A couple of punches, maybe no blood drawn, but at least these guys had their helmets off, right, when they went to talk to each other, whatever it was they were going to do. So we've got that part solved. Maybe you do let it go just a little bit, but then there's all these parents who are saying, I'm teaching my kid not to fight, not to throw punches. That's the NASCAR line that has to be walked here. And so that's why you see an official from NASCAR walking in so quickly to kind of break it up. So I don't know what you do. I still think it's entertaining, Marty. It was on Sunday.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.